Well, hello everybody. It's Kimberly Sheridan from Losing It with Kimberly. Hope you're doing well today. I am doing pretty well. Slept pretty good. I think I went to bed at 8:30. 8? I don't know. I remember getting, maybe 8:30. I remember getting tired around 6 and thinking, good grief. I need to stay up past 6 p.m. So I made it till 8:30. I think I got up at that point and just moved around and did some stuff in the kitchen, and that woke me up. So I went to bed at 8:30, woke up in the morning, I don't know, 5:30 or so, somewhere in the middle of the night too. Somehow all that glued together to be enough sleep. At least for now. We'll find out as the day progresses, right? That's when you really find out whether you got enough sleep or not. That catches up with you along the way. I will be taking a break from this recording in about 15 minutes because when I woke up, I was like, oh no, I think I didn't make iced coffee and I'm bummed. And I want my iced coffee. So right now I'm going to brew some coffee and then go add some ice cubes to it to cool it down, then pour it over a cup of ice and come back down and join you. And that takes, 10 minutes to brew. So I'll be taking a break, but through the magic of audio editing, you will know it because I told you I did it, but you won't have to wait. You won't have a blank space just ho-humming, waiting for me to come back. I'll edit all that out, no problem, but I'll rejoin you and we'll be all good. It just struck me yesterday that one day I won't be talking to you from the treadmill. I'll be making a daily recording, but I won't be on the treadmill every day for the rest of my life, maybe, I'll have a day that I'll have to miss for whatever reason, for my reason, my mom's reason, my kids. I'll have a day or a time that I no longer start with the treadmill. There'll be, I'm sure over time, I'll change what I'm doing in terms of my cardio because this is working right now. But as we've experienced thus far, things work for a while and sometimes then they don't. You get bored, you get in better shape and want to do something differently. If I do decide to start running, I can't record to you while I'm running. Believe me, you hear me huffing and puffing already at 3 miles per hour. You wouldn't be able to, even when I get in better shape, obviously, as I get in better shape, I'll huff and puff. I would need a higher mile per hour to huff and puff, but there's no way I could run and talk to you like this and have solid thoughts. We're going to assume for now that what I say already are solid thoughts. So over time, this audio will, evolve. But I'll still talk with you every day, and I'll still be there with you on your journey. And certainly not everybody listening is on a treadmill when they're listening to me. They're doing their own thing. Whatever changes, they're making, they're listening at the same time. Or they're listening later. Who knows? Well, actually, I shouldn't say who knows because I'd love to know. There is a place for you to provide feedback on the website, and I love all feedback, positive, negative. They're just your opinions. Obviously, I can't change everything to meet everybody's perfect opinion of what this should be, what this program should be. But I love getting the positives and the negatives so I can sort of look at the big picture and see how it's going to best serve the most people. So if you have feedback about anything about this program, I would love to hear it on the website. There's a place for you right there that you can click to provide feedback. So anyway, for today, I am still on the treadmill, and for the foreseeable future, I assume that I will be, because I'm not really ready to take anything different on or add anything on. I'm sticking with the things I'm doing now, which are, as many of you know, the standing desk for 8 hours a day, the treadmill, working at the treadmill desk for 1 hour a day. 30 minutes of that is spent with you, and then 30 minutes is doing work on my computer, drinking 24 ounces of water every day, which I did yesterday. I think I've missed one day of that, but I'm not even sure it's been a whole week. So that's not a perfect record. Certainly not a perfect record. Maybe not even a great record if I've only been doing it for 5 days and missed one. Hey, that's only 80%, but So what? 24 ounces more of water a day that I've been drinking that I wasn't before, so that's a positive movement forward. Let's see, what else am I doing? Vitamins and supplements. I've been doing those already. I think I mentioned before, it's just calcium, biotin for hair loss, fish oil in hopes of maybe being able to save my brain from Alzheimer's. And what's the last one? Vitamin D. Vitamin D in general, I think I'm usually low on, and I don't always get outside enough. I know I had an OB one time who said that she was low. I'm really sad that she's not where I live now because I really liked her, but she said she was low on vitamin D at one point and did go, instead of getting on a vitamin D supplement, she said, I'm going to do, sunshine. So she did make a point of spending 20 minutes a day outside. At least at that point, that was the guideline. Like, if you spend 20 minutes a day outside with no sun protection, you will get the amount of vitamin D that you need. And so she did that, and her vitamin D levels did go up, she said, because with anything, truly, the best way to get it is through natural methods. And so, just like getting all these things that I'm taking would be great to do through nutrition rather than supplements. And certainly, sometimes you have situations where you're still not going to get enough through nutrition or through sunshine, and you need to add on through a supplement. But hey, that's why it's called a supplement. Not really called a substitution. I never really thought about that. But those are the supplements I take. And let's see, and then I'm doing my one exercise a day, either the compound move of the bicep curl shoulder press or the lunges with the medicine ball. And thankfully, not only yesterday did I remember to do the lunges with the medicine ball, but I did them, and I didn't want to. And that's the big hurdle, right? Who cares how many things we do? Well, I shouldn't say who cares, because it benefits us, but it's a lot easier to do the things that you want to do, like this treadmill desk that I don't dread yet, versus the lunges with the medicine ball, which dread's a strong word, but which I wasn't looking forward to. But I did them, and it was only one set, and as you know, that's the way I'm justifying it to myself. I'm saying it's just one set, just do them and move on with your life. It takes like 2 minutes. I do have them puff. Really, the hardest part about it is breathing for me, which makes me sad. I do think it's a combo of being out of shape cardiovascularly along with having asthma. But hopefully we'll find that as I get back into cardiovascular shape, I forget that I have asthma, because that's what happened before. I know that I've posted online about asthma to some people and have received feedback from other people who have asthma that they actually didn't have, symptoms at all of it during their lifetime. They had as a child like me, then they didn't have symptoms of it, and then as they got older they did, even though they were in good cardiovascular shape. So that might happen too. I don't know. What I do know is I'm going to do my part, get back into good cardiovascular shape, and then ultimately go to a pulmonologist and see, have some tests run, see about the lung function. I never really considered doing that before. I guess because it wasn't causing me problems before I started caring for my mom. And then after I was in too deep, trying not to drown, and didn't get to the doctors. And now, as I mentioned, I'd lose my breath going up 2 flights of stairs or 1 flight of stairs carrying something. So I no longer lose my breath going up 2 flights of stairs. So, hey, progress. Anyway, that's what we're at today. And today, I did those lunges yesterday, but I must admit, I'm happy that it's an arm day. A lot easier. So I'll get those done, get my water intake in. Not changing my food at all yet. Zippity-doo-dah zero am I trying to change my food. I'm eating junk. I know what I'm eating. I'm conscious of it when I do it. Yesterday, I had ice cream cake because it was my daughter's 16th birthday. And we had ice cream cake, and it was delicious. It was actually a bit overly sweet, so the good news is that I don't think I'll have any today because it was a bit too sweet for me. But that doesn't mean I won't have something else junky because I'm not changing that yet. It's on the horizon. I'll certainly be changing that soon, but not until I'm ready. Not until I'm emotionally ready because of my big work project I'm working on and, motivation. You gotta want to make a change. I think that's a big message with this program. You need to want to do it in order for it to stick. So while you might feel like you're making progress by pushing yourself and forcing yourself to make a change in the short term, is again like the game I mentioned yesterday of chutes and ladders. It's sort of like landing, you work and you've gotten around almost the whole game board. Then you land on a spot that's a chute, like a sliding board that goes down, and you go whoop, almost to the beginning, and we don't want that. So I think the big message with this program is to choose the things that you are willing to commit to. I know that for me, the idea of Kaizen, which is small, consistent improvements, came through a book. I think the book was called One Small Change. I don't know. I came across it many, many, many years ago, so I can't even say that I would recommend the book per se. But I just loved the concept of, and it's a Japanese word, Kaizen, K-A-I-Z-E-N. I love the concept of making small, consistent changes that you stick with, and you just build one on top of the other. I don't know if they called it stacking. I call it stacking, stacking successes. And truly, if you make a commitment to yourself and you hold it, you make it, you do it, you fulfill it. Can't come up with what word I'm looking for there. If you make a commitment and you actually follow through on it, you do feel good about yourself. I don't think there's anyone who wouldn't feel good about themselves. And so the goal is make a commitment that you can actually do. If you make this grandiose plan and you don't hit the mark, then you feel crappy. Now I know that some people in business with sales goals they'd rather make a grandiose goal and then go for that goal. And then if they miss it by they still might have achieved more in sales than they would have if they made a reasonable sales goal. And that I do get, actually. I do believe in that. But in terms of lifestyle changes, and maybe it's just me, maybe for me, the Kaizen works better for lifestyle changes and grandiose goals work better for sales goals. Maybe other people are different with both of those. Again, you go back to what works for you. You don't need to do what works for me, and I don't need to do what works for the next person over there, because it really sort of doesn't matter. But for this, I recommend Kaizen, small, consistent goals that you set for yourself, achieve, feel happy with yourself. That happiness with yourself is the fuel for you to make the next change, or just the fuel for you to continue that change the next day. So that's the way we're going to run this program. And so for me, along the way, as I achieve each one of these things, at some point, I'll be adding food back in, or not back in, I'll be adding food in. I've certainly, as I mentioned before many times, I've never been on any packaged diet that someone else created. I don't think I've gone too much into detail about my mom, but she taught this program called the Conway Diet when I was a teenager, I'd say. Maybe, I don't know, maybe before I was a teenager, because she went back to went back to work in childcare when I was a teenager. So let's say maybe around when I was 10, 11, 12. She taught this program called the Conway Diet. And she had previously worked for the telephone company before I was born, and then she quit to stay at home. And one of her, the wife of her boss's boss from the telephone company, I guess my mom was just always known for being thin or in shape or slim or whatever. So the wife of her boss's boss from the telephone company, like 10 years after she had left the company, contacts her and says, hey, I know about this thing called the Conway diet. It was created by this, I don't know, doctor, professor, whatever he was, at some university in, I want to say, Ohio. And I don't think it was a pyramid scheme, but I think it was, I would think that the woman who recommended my mom start teaching it got a cut of whatever my mom was earning. I'm not sure that's true. I was young. I didn't pay attention to such things. But I do know that this was a good diet program. It was based on what was considered healthy at the time, which was your meals should consist of meat and a green or colored vegetable, orange, yellow, green vegetable, and a starchy vegetable. And the recommendations at that time were your diet should be 1,200 to lose weight, 1,200 calories, not below that, because your body could go into starvation mode and start holding on to fat because it thinks it's going to starve to death. And it should be 10% protein. At that time, they said 60% carbohydrates and 30% fat. They had a recipe book that went along with it, which I haven't ordered, but it's on Amazon. There's some old copies out there. I wish I had my mom's old copy. And there were guidelines about how to do this, and she found a space to teach it in, and she found this car dealership, a Chevrolet dealership that was in the next town over, and they had a training room on their upstairs, and so she was able to use that space for free. I don't know why. I probably because of sleazy salesmen that wanted to see a lot of women coming through, but we'll leave that to the side. That's what she and I speculated. I don't know if that's true. In any case, she got the room for free. And so I think it was Thursday nights. I'm not sure that's true, but I think it was Thursday nights she would drive over there, and it was like a Weight Watchers meeting basically that she ran, except she was teaching the Conway diet. And it was a very sensible diet. It wasn't based on binging and purging and starving and, diuretics and, 600 calories a day. It was a very reasonable diet. I've never been on Weight Watchers, but I think that seems, from my perspective, to be a very reasonable diet that is based on points instead of calories. That's just a mind switch from my perspective. I'm not sure it's true. I haven't been deep enough into their program to know that I'm right about that. But I think they're just using points to make people not cringe at calories and not get all hung up on calories because we had a negative connotation of, oh no, I have to cut calories. In my mind, I'd rather understand calories because that's what's on our nutrition facts labels on our products that we can buy, and we can easily find that information on many, many, many restaurant websites these days. So I would rather just stick with counting my calories if I'm looking at calories. And that's what this Conway diet was based on. And so she would meet with people and have a Weight Watchers-like meeting, weigh them, have a conversation with them about who's doing what, and, run it like a support group. They had, like I said, they had the recipe book. I don't remember ever seeing a Conway diet book. I really should order one of those used copies of the Conway diet recipe book because maybe it had the diet in it. That would actually be quite interesting to me. Maybe I'll do that today. Anyway, but my mom, I remember our hall closet where our winter coats hung had scales, like food scales, in boxes. So I guess people could buy those if they wanted to weigh their food. I've never weighed my food. I think it's important if you can't, if you're not, like now, I buy chicken breast. Okay, on the chicken breast package, it tells me how much chicken is in there, right? whatever package I buy, it's got the price tag on the front that says it's this much per pound and this is how many pounds is in this package. So, I can figure it out. So I've never felt the need to weigh food. And for some people, it trips them up because getting to that nth degree on things can sort of make them go a little control freaky. However, for other people, it really serves them well because they want to make sure, hey, if I'm making all these sacrifices, I don't want to be making them for nothing. And so I'm going to make sure that I'm not accidentally having 8 ounces of this meat when I'm only supposed to have 6, or whatever. So, net, I've known the basics of weight loss since I was 10 or 11. My mom never outwardly put pressure on me to lose weight because I wasn't overweight. But the thing that happened somehow, though, is I still very much got the message that my worth was tied to my appearance in terms of my weight. Not my appearance in terms of my overall appearance, because I wasn't a pretty child, but my appearance in terms of my weight. And, I love my dad. He did a lot of good things for me in terms of providing a firm financial, stable house, right? And they hadn't grown up that way. As I mentioned, they'd grown up without running water or toilets in their house. Both of my parents, even though they lived hundreds of miles away, they both grew up that way. So they moved us up to a 3-bedroom brick rancher in the lower middle class, working class neighborhood, and it was safe. And, he provided me a different childhood than he had. Made sure it was important that he saved money and worked overtime and worked out of town for premium pay so he could send me to college and pay for it. So there's a lot I value about my father, who has passed. He's no longer with us. But he, I think he judged women on their appearance, and I think my mom, took that in. And I think somehow she spread it down to me that it would be bad if I was overweight. And that is probably why I never was. Like I said, I had a junk food habit for emotional eating, but I kept it in balance with exercise. And I think that that's probably why, I did that and never became overweight. It's not because of any extra. I had the information too. I think that's the other piece. I had the information about how to do it, and thankfully that information was about how to do it in a healthy way. How to maintain your weight and or lose weight in a healthy way. So up until 40, when this whole decade of trauma happened and I've gained 50 pounds, up until that point, if I needed to lose weight, except for that college 20 I gained, but besides that, when I would go to lose weight, it would be like 5 or 10 pounds. In one way, hard in the sense that, you don't see as much movement on the scale when you make changes if you only need to lose 5 or 10 pounds. But I don't think it stacks up at all to how hard it is to lose 30, 40, 50, 100 pounds. I mean, that's the long haul. Many times you're facing other things that, are the reason that you eat so much and or have a health problem that's causing you to have a metabolism that's not serving you well, and so I think any weight loss journey is, it requires sacrifice. And while I might have thought it was hard when I was trying to lose 5 or 10 pounds in the past, it pales in comparison to what it's like to lose it when you have a metabolism problem, or you have a lot more to lose and it's a much longer journey, or there's a root cause for your weight gain that is, like a weed with a very deep root system that you have to excavate in order to lose that weight. That it's not just a matter of eating differently and exercising. Doing so is actually bringing up a lot of emotional stuff that you've got to process along the way, But I do think for me, I was lucky, that it served me well. I wasn't lucky that my mom tied my self-worth to my appearance, But that did not serve me well at all. I will guarantee you that. But I was lucky that I had at least the right information in order to lose weight in a healthy way all along. As you can see, that didn't serve me once I didn't have time to put toward that effort. And once my body had turned against me and wouldn't lose weight even when I did put time toward that effort. But it served me well the first 40 years of my life, and I was able to have a healthy body, as a result. Depression, let's see, let me think about this. Health-wise, physical health-wise, I can't remember at this point, while walking on a treadmill at the age of 51, looking back on 51 years of life, I can't remember health problems I had up until the age of 40. Aside from childhood asthma, and like I said, that didn't really bother me after childhood, and depression. I've definitely had depression my whole life. I think I just had the outcome of eating mostly healthy and exercising with my little modicum of junk food. And when I say that, I wasn't a binger, but I definitely ate junk food every single day. And I would say between 500 and 1,000 calories of junk food every day during my younger years, my 20s. Maybe my 30s. Once I had kids, I might not have had time to do all that, or maybe I moved around more, I'm not sure. But definitely my 20s. I was moving around the country for different jobs. Not over and over, but I was continually moving to new places where I didn't know anybody for job opportunities and starting over. And I was doing it because I wanted exposure to the world, because that's one thing that growing up with parents who had been raised poor did, is I wasn't exposed to a lot during my first 18 years of life. We didn't go on vacations. Not that eating out exposes you, but we just didn't spend money. We didn't eat out. I think money was like, my dad made money, he paid the bills, he saved for college. That was it. We're not going to spend money on anything else. So our vacation was driving 8 hours to my grandparents' house for a week in the summer and using their outhouse. Up until I was 10, they had an outhouse. I remember using that outhouse. It was disgusting smelling, and it had the wasp nest up in the corner. It was not nice. And believe you me, I'm grateful that I wasn't of the age where I had to go to the bathroom every night, because that would have been a travesty. I suppose they did. Maybe my parents weren't to that age either at that point, but yeah. That was our vacation, and I had fun. It was the country. We would run and play and go through the woods and go to the creek, and there were a couple kids around that area that were my age, and so we would meet up again and shoot off fireworks. And I don't think I did fireworks. I was 10, but somebody would shoot off fireworks, and they had a local pool we went to one time. I do remember. Still, most people there were quite poor. Because somehow, how were we there at Halloween? I'm not sure. I wish my mom could remember, because she could tell me, but I do remember at one point we were there and we went to a firehouse where they were giving out candy, and I think it must have been Halloween, and my mom wouldn't let me get any because, we had money to buy candy, and the kids getting candy there didn't have money to buy candy. So she was like, that would be wrong for you to take this candy. Unfortunately, whatever age I was at that point, I looked through a filter of selfishness, and I was like, that's sad. I was sad for myself, not them. Anyway, probably didn't need the candy. Anyway, but that was the extent of my exposure. We played with friends in the neighborhood. They were all pretty much in our same economic class. This is back where I lived, lower middle class, working class. They were all about the same economic class. We all went to the same elementary, middle, high school. There was one other group, no, I think maybe there was one other middle school that filtered into our high school, but, there wasn't a lot of exposure to new people and new things and new concepts or cultures. And so I think I just wanted to, move and get out there and get out into the world and see places and see people. And in fact, I don't say I think I do. I know I do. That's what I wanted. I told my first boss I was working at Circuit City, the corporate headquarters in Richmond, that was during their heyday, before they ultimately went out of business. But I was at the corporate headquarters, and I told not my first boss, my second boss, I was like, transfer me anywhere in the country, to a division office. I just want to go. So wherever the opening is, I'll go. And so it ended up being St. Louis, Missouri, which I loved, actually. I didn't want to stay that far away from my family because that's in the middle of our country, and my family was in Virginia on the East Coast. But I did want to move there, and ultimately moved to Santa Fe, New Mexico for a while before coming back to Maryland, which is a state near Virginia, near my parents, close enough to my parents for a weekend trip. And so I wanted all that exposure, but what that also did to me as a sort of shy person is throw me out into places and situations where I knew no one. And so for comfort, I had my junk food. So I did get out and put myself in new situations, but then I needed to medicate with the junk food to recover with all the stuff coming up for me. Because like I said, I was a shy person, so part of my personality wanted to get all that exposure, and part of it wanted to stay inside, So that's where emotional eating certainly started in my teenage years, but it continued easily through my 20s with my 500 to 1,000 calories of junk food every day, and exercise balanced that out. I don't think I've ever had an amazing metabolism, but it certainly worked at that point. I was certainly able to go back down to 1,200 calories a day if I wanted to lose weight, and, eat whatever I was normally eating if I wanted to maintain weight. And I weighed myself, not every day certainly, but regularly enough that if I saw it edging up within 5 pounds, I would start to watch what I was eating again. But those days are over. My body no longer reacts that way. As I mentioned many times, I can make changes to my diet, my food intake, and see absolutely no changes in my weight over a long period of time. Or I can make grand efforts to cut calories and exercise back when I was exercising hard at 8 or 9 rate of perceived exertion, and lose weight, a pound or 3/4 of a pound a week by cutting down to 1,200 calories plus heavy exercise for 6 days a week, and lose 3/4 to 1 pound a week, but then gain it back at almost double time by eating what should be considered a regular amount of calories, 1,700 to 1,800 a day. So that's not working. Something's wrong with that, to gain a pound a week from eating that many calories. So that's what I'm going to have to look at and face once I do start looking at my food and changing up my food. And that's why I haven't done it yet, because it's going to be an effort. It's going to be a grand effort to put a lot of my time and focus over there, because I do also plan to incorporate going to doctors in there, not only for my health, to get a sort of benchmark on where we're at now, because that's going to create some emotional issues for me. If I go and they tell me I have high blood pressure now and I didn't before 10 years ago, that's going to upset me. If I go and they say, and my cholesterol was already like at 207 or something, when I was super duper healthy, and I had the thing that was pushing it over the 200 mark though was good cholesterol, because I was eating healthy and exercising. Actually, my good cholesterol was also high, but I think genetically I probably have a predisposition towards high cholesterol, and so if I've been eating terribly for most of this last 10 years, then the likelihood is that I'm going to have medicatable levels of cholesterol, and that I've built up a lot of cholesterol in my arteries. And since my family has heart problems on my dad's side, that's going to make me very sad. And I'm going to have a lot of emotions to process with anything that I learned at the doctor, because, I'm gonna have to look in the face everything I've lost that I might not be able to get back. I can certainly build from where I am. That's what we're doing together. But I'm going to have to process all the emotions that come with having lost a decade of good health, that I might also have to, lose some of my life on the back end from this period of time, and that's going to make me sad. So that's why I'm not tackling food now, because I'm not a 20-year-old that can just cut calories down to 1,200 and come back on the recording every day and say, okay, this week I lost a pound, this week I lost 1.5 pounds. Back in the old days, if I exercised every day and I cut down to 1,200 calories, I would lose 1.5 pounds a week. If I only did the cutting down the food and wasn't exercising, I would lose 1 pound a week. And it was pretty reliable. I was like math. I could calculate when I could lose a certain amount of weight by, and I can't do that now. It's not going to work. And it's very emotionally, there's a lot of emotions tied into the whole process now. So we will get to that. I will get to that, and I will share it all with you, the whole thing, the whole journey. Who knows? Some of it might include tears. We'll find out when we get there. As you know, I got a little carried away with talking, and I didn't go get my coffee. So now I'm going to sign off. I'm going to put my treadmill on pause, go get my coffee, throw some ice in there, come back down, finish up my next 25 minutes, and I'm going to see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.